Okay, good Tavach, everyone. Welcome back. As was sponsored by Shom Fogel, Nishmas Yaakov Zeb ben Yudaya, Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Tib Yemirim Bas Gad, Yosef ben Tzion ben Yaakov Zeb, Lefu Shalema for Moshe Arya ben Miriam, for a great shidduch for Chaya Tibya Bas Shoshana Gittel, a great shidduch for Batya Bas Sarah, Nishmas Yaakov Chaim ben Abba, Esther Bas Yona, Avram ben Shmuel HaKohen, Liba Bas Anya, Lefu Shalema for Yosef Shmuel ben Miriam, and also for a healthy mommy, healthy baby, especially for Ariel and Lior Bas Elza Rivka. We also want to learn. I had a Rebbe in 7th grade. His name was Rabbi Michal Miller, a nephew of Rabbi Avigdor Miller, who is the one that is responsible for getting me into the yeshiva of Staten Island and changed my life. So we learned for him his yahrzeit was today, Mordechai Michal ben Yeshayahu, his neshama should have an aliyah. We also learned Lila Nishmas Reb Nisan ben Yosef Tzvi HaKoyen, Lefu Shalema for Chaim Rafal ben Sarah, Mordechai Tzvi ben Rus Chana, and Moshe ben Esther Fradel, should have a Refu Shalema b'seich Shayachei Yisrael. Okay, we welcome in Dr. Block and Saba and Yaakov Warman and Mo Kushner, Irving Fishbaum, Berish Gesserman, Rebel Yafi, Barry Cement, Rabbi Yisrael Fisher, Dr. Guy, A.B. Spry, Menachem Umansky, Michael, Yitzi Muller, Mordechai Sultan, very nice to have Mordechai. Eddie Chazan, who we hope gets home soon, Shelley Zeitlin, Michal Avram Chavin, Marshall Castle, Dr. Eisenberg, Nachman Chapler, Rabbi Kranz, Gedalia Engel, Stephen Holtzman, Yitzi Fuchs, Moshe Lehman, Shimon Klein, Danny Vogel, Chaim Lerner, Richard Rosenzweig, Gabriel Epstein, Elia Schuttman, Chaim Braun, Abe Arbach, David Helfgott. We haven't seen Mark already now for a few days. I believe we have 36 Zoomers now, which is, and of course we have here in the shul, holding down the fort, Ruvain Shanit. Okay, we're holding on Daf Nun Hey Amud Aleph, 6 lines from the top. No, more than that, I'm sorry. 8 lines from the top. Tan Rabbana. Termin to Einim ala Groigris. You could take off truma from fresh figs on dry figs, b'mokum sheregilun laseis to Einim Groigris, where it's the custom to make out of the fresh figs dried figs. However, v'loy Groigris al to Einim, not dried figs for fresh figs, v'afilu b'mokum sheregilun laseis to Einim Groigris, even if they normally make out of figs, dried figs, but still you shouldn't give dried figs for fresh figs because that's like Torah and Arah ala Yafeh. You're supposed to, dried figs is inferior to fresh figs. So the Gemara says, I'm not sure the situation. You see, if there isn't a kohen available, then you should take off truma from something that's miskayem, that can be stored. Otherwise it's going to spoil until you find a kohen. So the Gemara says, Amamar, Ta'ayim Ta'enim ala Groigris b'makom sheregilim lasais Ta'enim Groigris. You could take off figs, fresh figs for dried figs, in a place where they make figs into dried figs. Now that's strange. Fresh figs is better. B'makom sheregilin in, b'makom she'ein regilin loy, only in a place where they make it into dried figs, and not if they don't. Hechidami. Ika kayin. If there's a kayin around, the fresh figs is better. Makom she'ein rogel amay loy. Why not? V'atanan makom she'esh kayin, Torah min hayafa. You should take from the best, and the best is fresh figs. Ela pshita, it must be the leka kayin. So if there's no kayin, so you could take fresh figs if they make it into dried figs, because then it's going to be miskayim even if there's no kayin. But the Gemara says if you're talking about a case where there's no kayin, ema seifa, v'loy geroigris ala teinim, you can't take dried figs for fresh figs. Afilu b'makom sherogal aseis teinim geroigrin. Gregorus, even in places where they make fresh figs into dried figs. But wait, if there's no kayin, you should take dried figs, because that's going to be miskayin. V'idol like a kayin amay loy. V'atanan mokum she'ein kayin. If there's no kayin, Torah minimum miskayin. You take from that which is going to be able to be kept, that which will survive, that which will keep. So then you should use dried figs. Elapshita, that the Sefer is talking about the Ika kayin. If there is a kayin, then you shouldn't take dried figs or fresh figs, because the fresh figs is more chashiv, and the dried fig is then Torah min ha'ra'ah yafa. So does that mean Reisha the leka kain? The Reisha is where there's no kain. Sefer the Ika kain? Says the Gemara, yeah, that's the way you'll have to learn. That Reisha the leka kain. Reisha is talking about where there's no kain. So then you could give fresh figs if they make it into dried figs, because then it'll be miskayin. Sefer the Ika kain, where there is a kain, then you shouldn't give Gregorus for fresh figs, because that's Torah min ha'ra'ah yafa. Amra Papa. So Rav Papa says, we could conclude from here a shas yesod. Shmami noch dachkinon umikminon masnisim betrei tainik. We'd rather kvetch and say that the Mishnah is talking about two different cases, even though it doesn't say it, and that the Reisha is talking about where there's no kayin, and the Sefer is talking about there's one kayin. V'loy mekminan betrei tanoi. Rather than say it's talking about the same case where there's no kayin, and the Sefer is going according to Rabbi Yehuda, who holds that even if there's no kayin, still you should give min hayafa, from the best, and not from the miskayin. But we'd rather learn that the Mishnah is talking about two different scenarios than talking about two different opinions. Now, says the Heilige Mishnah, Kol ha-menachos niloishos b'poishrin. All menachos are kneaded with lukewarm water. U'mishamrim shelo yachmitzu. And you guard it that it shouldn't become chametz. And not only that which goes on the mizbeach shouldn't become chametz, but if after you give the kmitza, the shirayim that you eat becomes chametz, v'mechmitzu shireha, over b'loisase, you're over a lav. Now what that lav is, the Gemara will tell us. First the Gemara says, how do you know that that which goes on the mizbeach can't be chametz? Shenema kol ha-mincha asher takrivu la'Hashem lo se'aseh chametz. Shouldn't make chametz. Now, if you leaven it, you're chayev for each process a separate malchus. V'chayev alishasa, if when you knead it, it becomes chametz, you're chayev for kneading it. V'alarichasa, if when you braid it, you're chayev for shaping it. V'alafiyasa, and you're chayev malchus for baking it. So now the Gemara right away asks, how do I know that after the kmitza is smoked up on the mizbeach, and the kohanim are going to eat the shirayim, which is kodesh kadosh and has to be eaten in azara? If they make it chametz, they're over a lav. How do you know that? Menani mili. Amarei shlokish to amar kroloi say ofech chametz chelkam. You shouldn't bake as chametz their portion. Afilu chelkam, even the portion of the kohanim, lo say ofech chametz. Says Gemara v'haylo hachiyudasi. Doesn't that lo say ofech chametz come to teach me something else? Hi midbay leila k'desanya. Lo say ofech chametz ma talmud lo maval kvar nema lo yisasa chametz. You shouldn't make it chametz. Lefish nema lo yisasa chametz yochel lo yeh chayev ela achas al kulam. That you chayev only one malchus for the whole process. Talmud Leimer, it singles out lo say ofeh. Afiyah b'klal, baking is included in lo say aseh. Lama yotzasa, why is it singled out? Lahakish elad, to compare to it. Ma afiyah miyuchedesh imaisi yechidi. It's one step. V'chayav and aleh b'fnei atzma, and you chayav malchus just for that step. Afani ovi lishasa varichasa, kneading it, braiding it, v'kol ma'aseh yechidei, and any other individual step, sheba, which comes to include la'asuyei kituf, that means to put water on the surface of the dough to smooth it out. Shimaisi yechidi v'chayev anoleh b'fnei atzma. So we see lo se'afa chametz is needed. It's not needed to tell me the shirayim. Says the Gemara anan me chelkam kamrina. Says lo se'afa chametz chelkam. It means even the portion that's eaten can become chametz. Says the Gemara. So then, how do you know to learn the yechayev for baking? Maybe that pasuk is only telling you that you're chayev for baking the shirayim. Says Gemara, if it wanted to only talk about the portion, then it should have started up. Im kein lichtav chelkam lo yse'afer chametz. My lo yse'afer chametz chelkam. That's unusual. Don't bake the chametz, that portion. It's to tell you that we also want to learn out something from lo yse'afer chametz. Shmami not tarte. Says Gemara, but maybe baking you're chayiv by itself. Everything else you're chayiv only once because it's included in lo se'asa. Ve'imafia deparit barachmana l'chayiv chod. That you're chayiv a malchus for itself. Inach, the braiding and kneading and smoothing l'chayiv chod akulu. Maybe you're chayiv only one. Says Gemara, you know why? Because there's a rule. Mishum davi davar shoya b'chlal. Afia was included in lo se'asa. V'yotzim in a klal, and it went out of the klal. L'lamed to teach. The rule is it's one of the Yud Gimel Midas. Lo l'lamed al atzma yotza. It doesn't teach just for itself. El l'lamed al klal kula yotza. To teach on the whole principle that the whole subject that you're chayav for every single procedure. Says the Gemara, well maybe the aim of lo se'asa klal and lo se'afa is a prat, a generalization and a specification, and we have a rule klal prat in aim b'klal el mashe b'frat. And maybe you're only chayav for the baking and not anything else. Afia in midiachrin aloi. Says the Gemara, we only darshan klal prat if they're next to each other. And here the klal prat are not next to each other. Amar Rebbe Afteriki, Mishum Dave klal prat hamurchokim zemizeh. There are klal prat that are distant from one another. Because klal prat hamurchokim zemizeh ain't done in oisei b'klal prat. Basiv Rav Adabar Ava, v'imr lo kadi. Kadi means someone, we don't know who, whomever. The klal prat amurchakim zemizeh ain't done in oisei b'klal prat. If a generalization and specification are distant, we don't dash in it. For Tanya, v'shachet oisei yishach dechatas b'mokem asher yishchat ha'ola, in the place that yishach ha'ola, that's on the tzafin, lefnei Hashem chatasi. Heichen oila nishchetes b'tzafin. Avzeh, so this is also b'tzafin. Says Gemara, v'chi anu mikan l'meiden? Is that the source? The chatas is b'tzafin? V'alai kvar nema b'mokem asher tishkud ha'oila tishkud ha'chatas. Ha'lama ze yaitza, why is it repeated? L'koivai, to fix it, she'im lo yishachad ha'isai b'tzafin paslai. Because that's the din. That if you don't shecht it in the tzafin, it's puzzle, and therefore the Torah repeats it. Shana kasel la'akev. Ata imelekach yotzasa. Oy einay ella. Maybe it's coming to tell you shezeta in safin that only. It's coming to tell you that only the chatas of the nasi, because this is. Talking about the chatas that's brought by the king. Ela shezeta and safin vein acharta and safin. Says the Gemara. Talmud Leima v'shachar es achatis b'mkayim asher yishchar es ha'oila, that zebana of, that's a juxtaposition, l'kol chatoy shetun etzafin. So the Gemara says, Taima the cost of Rachmana v'shachar es achatis, it's only because it says v'shachar es achatis, holav hachi, hav amina, shezeto in safin, that only the chatas of the nasi needs safin, ve'ein achato in safin. My timer, what's the reason? La mishum dave klal prat. It's a generalization and then a specification. And we say b'klal el mashi b'prat. V'afal gavin mirchokin zem, even though they're distant one from another. So the Gemara says, I'm sorry, but that wouldn't be a klal prat, it would be a prat of klal. Says the Gemara, ask Rav Ashi, I klal pratu? Prat of klalu, it's a klal following a specification. V'nasa klal moisif ala prat, v'israbi lu kol mile, and it includes everything. If a klal follows a prat, then it includes everything. The havamina why the Gemara thought that it's only the sar of the nasi is because it says oisai. Elatana oisai kakashalei. V'achi kamer. Oy einay ela shezeta in safin. The chatas of the nasi needs safin. Ve'ein achata in safin. The kasav rachmana oisai. Says the Gemara, v'hashta denafkele mishmashachar esachatas. So then oisai lemutei mai. Now that we learned out all chatas, because shachar esachatas b'mekayim asher yishchar esa'ila, that all chatas need safin. So then what do we do with the miyat of oisai? Says the Gemara, lemuutei, it comes lemuutei nachshain. It comes to exclude the chatas that's brought by the inauguration by nachshain. That does not need safin. Oisai b'tzafin, only the nasi's chatas b'tzafin. The ain't sir nachshin b'tzafin. You see, we would think that the sar of nachshin, since it needs smicha, it should also need safin. So like the mina hoil this rabbi linyan smicha. So this rabbi nami linyan safin. Kamash malan that it doesn't need it. Now we're going to spend a lot of time tomorrow on this miyat of oisai. We're going to stop here now. First of all, we're back to a regular time at 8 tomorrow night. Don't forget, by the way, to change your clocks. Otherwise, you'll miss the daf if you don't change your clocks. In Chicago, I don't know what they do over there, but...
we just have Franks and bourbon, so right. We don't care what time it is.
Don't forget the sauerkraut. And...
oh, yeah. What time are you coming?
I haven't had a Frank in 3 months.
That's not good.
Yeah. And Pepsi even longer than that.
Shiloh? Are you open for a quick Shiloh?
One second.
Okay.
Now, what we're going to do is we have a simcha tonight. We're going to finish Masechtas Krisis. So first of all, I'm going to tell you that I was still owed you a series of 2 Mishnayos, Perek Gimel, Mishnah Hey and Vav. Earlier tonight I did that, so that we're complete now. I caught up. We're complete now. And now we're going to learn the last 2 Mishnayos, Masechtas Krisis, which going to put us in place tomorrow to start Masechtas Meila.